All right, so I grinded off this thing which went towards the center of the car. Okay, I have to put something longer because it's not going to reach. I'm more pissed at the little rubber huya I got out because I was going to make it work, but as you can see, I need to make something long. I'm just going to use a regular piece of angle iron or something. This is like really super duper overkill. I almost rather it bend if somebody ever pushed up on your brake pedal, because then you're just smashing the the switch. But remember when I was saying I got a bolt in with the Allen key right there and it's sticking up a little bit? That's fine, but it kind of changed things, but it actually changed it for the better. I don't feel like I have to like lift up on the unit to get that bolt. It's not, before it was a little bit funny, but it was fine. It was really nothing wrong with it. I just don't know when I put it in the car, that little bit, because you see what happens is it gets a little bit longer, and that's why it was kind of pushing up and getting tight, and that's what I was talking about, relieving it. But if this is closer, this is further out then, up inside the car. I just hope it doesn't hit anything. The worst case scenario is that I put the little, alignment, I made it basically an alignment pin before, and I'm just going to use that, and then I will oval out these holes so there's actually a rotational adjustment, and that'll help to get it where it needs to go, because you're limited here. Now as far as this goes, there's a relief in the back here for where that is, and of course because I flipped it upside down, I cut it too far. I cut it the wrong way, and then I realized I had to do it this way. And this is the little bracket. I broke the welds and I re-welded it, and that was the little thing I made, the brass fitting. It actually ended up pushing it out further, so I had to grind this off more to make up for what that was. Now, because what that did is it basically had this guy scraping this, but it was mostly scraping this bracket right here. So the main thing is, you see, I nipped it with the grinder, but basically, if that's flush with the unit, you're fine. But it's like plenty of room now. Swings, because I was able to because there is always a little bit of play in these things, See how much it moves at the base there? So that was important to make it not hit at any given cost, even when I lean on it inwards. So the spacer that was in there, I basically just cut it and then I grinded it. But you see, that's a ARP head stud washer. It's really thick washer, because what was happening then, see this thing here, the bushings keep falling out, so it relies on one side being up there and then the other one being up against this bracket, and then the stick shift one would go in there and go that way. Now obviously, if a lot of you guys have stick shifts, this is going to be difficult for you to do. My only suggestion at that point is to grind your, because you see, I gather that the stick shift one is sort of like this, where it only has so much width where this actual swing arm is, and just cut it all off and make it this size. I just don't know how they're going to crisscross each other. Obviously, it's not going to be the same thing, because this one did officially go over. So there's a few things that need to be considered. You could, depending, you could make this bar straight, get it out of another car, something that's straight, but you may have to grind a little bit more or actually shim it more that way. So I think it's doable on a stick shift, but obviously at this point it's much easier on automatic. The other thing, I'm trying to think, because if it went over an inch, I don't know if you're going to actually, if there's room to put the lever on the outside of this, because if that went over an inch, it's just, like I said, I think it's best just to cut this. And then technically, if it's up against it, it should miss it, no matter what, because they were up against each other before. I just don't know where the arm's coming out, if it was to the left or to the right. Like I said, but you can hack up this, I have a bed. You can hack up this box here and then bump it out and make it, because that may not be that much more to go, because essentially it's spaced out this much, which is roughly an inch. the whole thing got moved over about an inch. So if you move your clutch pedal over an inch, it would be still butted up against this right here. So it should technically work. It's just that now, like this whole bracket here, you'd probably be best to grind out the welds and move everything over. Because I, completely cut it off and I said I'm going to use that hole for it. But it doesn't really reach, as you can see. So right here, I was thinking about leaving something for support for the but I being that the bolt is right here, I don't want to build this up to get things out of whack there. I could just butt it up against and give it a couple of tack welds. Anything will make it a little bit stronger, but not to jump around. But basically, if the whole bracket got moved over and he tack welded it there and this thing here, because it would be in the same position then, both would be in the same position. So this guy would pretty much be. But here's the thing, though. This brake pedal, it still would be an issue because it was an issue now. It was scraping that, and I didn't want to keep going farther over. But that's the least of your worries. You could actually have the pedal hit this directly, So you could definitely, do something. Like if I had, right now, in fact, sorry, I'm looking at it, I'm not sure. But right there, when I lift it up, it hits it right on the money. So, I mean, if the whole thing got moved over, this is meant to hit that little thing. But even if you had to cut it in a couple of pieces like this and re-weld it, I mean, there's no, you don't need a tab on there. You can technically just screw the switch in more, and then you'd hit that brake pedal. So this is not really a big deal as long as there's room on the inside there. I gather there is. But like I said, I'm trying to think about, because technically these rods usually crisscross each other, and then they would have this other pad, and then they would bow out over here. So I just think it's tougher metal here because it has a pretty major support. But I mean, if you know what you're doing, I mean, you can cut it out, and you could definitely support it and put an end cap on there. Like a semicircular, almost like a pipe. You could weld like a plumbing pipe. On the outside here, and then hack out the inside kind of thing, hack it out first and then weld in the plumbing pipe, something along those lines. But this is like pretty fucking ingenious, I must say, because it's like really meant to be. And obviously, if this is on center here, in the middle of this bracket, this is, like I said, I grinded the weld off to get the tube out. I just left it out because you don't need a bearing on this side. There was none, It's just that I wanted to give it the, like I said, the other one was this one is exactly 2 inches, and the other one is exactly 2 inches. But this one is 2 inches from behind the mounting bolt here, and basically behind both of these pieces of metal. It's exactly 2 inches. I don't mean to be repetitive, but ultimately it was 2 inches. So I knew that the other one is 2 inches exactly. So I got a longer one now. As you can see, this is exactly how I wanted it. Where am I square? Hitting the weld. All right, yeah, that's 1 3/4, exactly what I wanted, because I got a 1/4 inch longer piece to go on there. And like I said, the worst case scenario, I could play with these bolts. I mean, you might be able to even play a little bit with shimming this, but then you'd have to shim the other ones, But right now I'm going to move over the spring thing. I mean, I could probably let the spring go on an angle like this. It probably stretches it a little bit. It's probably not a big deal to make some. I'll probably just make something and weld it and leave the original one there. I don't know if there was ever a spring for the clutch, if it goes somewhere else. I mean, technically, who knows? In any case, I just I fixed up this hole. I put a piece of metal there. I think it's okay. Hopefully, it's not past like this straight part here. It looks like it's under. So all in all, this came out pretty fucking awesome, And now this thing swings completely and totally misses. And I just got to make something for that thing right there. And like I said, if I wanted to grind it off and put it right on the thing itself and not weld anything to it, that's doable as well. That's really not a big deal. It's just that the pin coming out of it is not so small. I mean, it's not so big. So it's the switch ended up breaking on me because the I had it around here somewhere. Doesn't help that I'm blind. I had 5 eye surgeries and I'm welding without putting the damn helmet on. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes. I chucked it somewhere, but basically the switch busted on me. It pulled apart when I was trying to take out the electrical connection. It's still not out. But yeah, this is ancillary, you know. I converted a couple of cars that were 60s cars that had the hydraulic switch, and I just jumped the hydraulic switch and put a set of wires in here. I put a piece of aluminum going across, zippy screwed it on both sides, and put a little angle bracket, and boom, I put a little universal switch right through, and that was that. But this looks like it's going to come out pretty kick-ass, I want to say. So, you know, and then I believe this thing here can be flipped over. I think it was the other way, and I put it on the inside here just to keep all this here. Obviously, if it sticks out, it would be hitting the bracket, the brake bracket, yeah. So, but that I'm leaning into it sideways here, and whoosh, just misses. That's pretty good. So, like I said, I'm just gonna probably, you know, I don't know if I mean, it should technically be in the same space, and I thought it was on a weird angle, and that's why I think this little bracket was made on a weird angle. If I would actually get more throw out of the brake pedal if I just welded something like straight across. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be that thick. You can see I'm a real cinematographer. I have all my shit ready to go. This is not a good example, but basically, if this is long enough, which I think it is, you know, all I have to do is just weld it straight across. Of course, it's too large, but, you know, looking at it from this, you know, and I'm sure there's going to be some thread sticking out. That's why I kind of wanted to find the other switch. But that's, like I said, it's all ancillary stuff. It's really nothing, you know. That's super easy, and this amount of play is quite normal. You got to really, you know, wing down on those things. And see, it actually, I really kind of forced it a little bit here, but it'll, where are my fingers? It'll tweak, and it tweaked in place quite a bit, you know, because if I had to do it again, I would probably take a little material off that over there, and then bolt everything together and tack weld it, which I did kind of do, but it was a little more sloppy. I didn't have this bushing cut, and I was like, duh, I can use the same bushing that was in there. When I cut it, it should split the difference. Well, I didn't cut 100% straight. Like if I had cut it on a mill or with a chop saw or something like that, it'd be a lot better. So I had a hand grind, and by the time I was done, this one got a little bit shorter, which I needed it, and then this one here, I had to put this washer, because what happens is the bushing, where am I? The bushing will slide out if you don't have a washer there. Even if it's a regular washer, the bushing has to stay there. So I'm going to take this all apart. I'm going to grease it up, you know, but I'm still going to fabricate this first, you know, and do my fabrication first. And then I guess I'm ready to test fit it at one point. Probably not today, but it's going to be pretty kick-ass setup, I think, you know, for a little car to have this. Yeah, and I don't know anybody, you know, and so did the owner of the car. He was like, I don't think anybody's done this with this car, you know. But it's not a hard car to steer, but, you know, if you're a dainty little girl like his girlfriend, it's not going to not gonna work so well. So everybody likes power steering, let's face it, you know, and I think it's gonna work out pretty well. I didn't get to the electrical part. I never tested it. I'm hoping it works. I think he bought it off eBay, so I have a feeling it's gonna be fine. And then I got to make something for this. That's the other thing. I want to get some kind of band clamp on it, because that's really all it needs. It's not going anywhere. Once I have it bolted in the mounting things like this, there's really nowhere for it to go. But, you know, I want it tight, but I don't want it that tight, just in case for accidents. Because, like I said, I'm making up for everything with the inside part, you know, telescopes, because that's how they had it in Toyota. You know, they have to, you know, do that. Now it might have had a little more room to do that, but it's fine, you know. And then the sleeve here will come down a little bit as well. You know, it's going to go at least an inch, you know, which is not bad. I mean, let's face it, your car bends an inch like on the inside like this, it's finished anyway, but obviously you don't want the steering wheel to go through your chest. So I think it'll be plenty good. So I'll keep you guys updated.